Um, Thank you, Ambassador Sibo, and especially the thanks go to Ms. Rebong for inviting me here. I'm based in Pune, so I'm now the head of the Department of Social Sciences at FLEM University in Pune. So I'm happy to come back to Delhi because we stay in at OP Jindal Global University for 2 years. So this is our eighth year staying in India. I may not the only Taiwanese who teach in India, but definitely I'm the one who stayed the longest. So I hope I can every day, every extra day that I stay here is making a record on the history of India and Taiwan. So I'm hoping that well I can use it as a metaphor between the friendship for the friendship between India and Taiwan, the two very different democracies in the world. So I would like to share some of my observations here regarding the power reshuffle of the PBSC, the Politburo Standing Committee of after the 20th Party's Congress of CCP or the Chinese Communist Party. So just like my the previous respected panelist has indicated, well, we can see that this new PBSC actually reflects the personal will, the personal political will of Chairman Xi Jinping. So you can see that there is no other factions existing now in within the CCP. Not only the Xi faction, the previous Hu Jintao's 团派 or the Youth League faction has been, we can say, totally destroyed. You can see this dramatic scene appear on the presidium of the 20th Party's Congress that Hu Jintao was dragged off by one of the Politburo members' personal guard. You can see that, and nobody dares to say anything. The 团派 including Li Keqiang and Wang Yang, they don't dare to say anything. So you can see that this is actually a very outstanding scene in this political drama, this political theater. That's very important. This is how power is being demonstrated. So this actually signifies a paradigm shift in the Chinese politics from the power sharing among different factions to Xi Jinping's total control. So who are these people? I think that's very interesting that if we can do some analysis of the composition of the new people. Of course, Xi Jinping is the head, but in this new generation of a Politburo Standing Committee, we can see there are several characteristics. First, these are secretaries, right? The secretaries, either they have worked with Xi Jinping in different provinces when he is the head of that province CCP committee, or they are playing the role as the secretaries. So secretaries are here to help, to assist, to execute the order from Xi Jinping. So they are not the policymakers. They are not representing different factions or their interest, which is, usually done in the collective rule in the history of CCP. So there is no collective rules anymore. And secondly, these people are from the Cultural Revolution generation. So they are daring to struggle. If we want to quote the original language from Xi Jinping, this is actually Xi Jinping's expectation to the younger generation of Chinese politicians. Dare to struggle, right? Struggle can mean the objectives can mean, well, not, you don't have the classic enemies anymore, right? But they still have the U.S. is one thing, all right. The other one is the enemy within the party, all right. So dare to struggle to deal with the difficult questions. And people will say, well, there are different observations from different batch of scholars, either in Taiwan, China, or overseas, the China watchers, regarding whether this is like a combatant Politburo that focus more on the politics, or they are still trying to do something. I would say that, well, we have to notice the backgrounds of the new people being selected into the PBSC. The first one is Li Qiang. Li Qiang is going to be the premier of China, who is number 2 in the PBSC. He served as the secretary of the CCP Shanghai Committee. So Li Qiang is from Shanghai, and Cai Qi, another one who is going to be the head of the secretariat of CCP, he served as the Beijing CCP Beijing committee. So he's like what they call 一把手, the first one at the helm, or at the local committee. So Shanghai, Beijing, one is the economic capital, the other is the political capital. And the last one, Li Xi, serves as the CCP Guangdong Province Committee. Guangdong is the biggest economy within People's Republic of China. The economic scale is more than Russia, right? The economic production of Guangdong 1 year is more than what Russia can produce for 1 year. So these are very economically important places. So this is very clear that Xi Jinping wants to, if he wants to remain political stability that he has been focusing upon, economic performance is still very important. Okay, so when he is selecting people, I think he had to consider, multiple aspects. One is the political one. So these are the Cultural Revolution generation who dare to struggle. So they are politically qualified, all right? But secondly, economically, maybe they are not the best. A lot of people like to say that, they are inexperienced. For example, usually you have to serve as a vice premier before you become the premier, and Li Qiang is not. But that's not important, all right? Because he served as the head of the biggest economic city in China. So that's enough. And the key point is here. The key point that I want to share here is that Xi Jinping is the head. So these are just the secretaries. So they're here to help him, not here to share power with him. And another characteristic that we can see is that there is no clear political successor that we will see from this PBSC. Usually, if they are trying to develop or to put the next political successor, they will put him into the central committee, all right? But we don't see anyone here. But an interesting figure that we have to focus on is Ding Xuexiang. All right, Ding Xuexiang is Xi Jinping's secretary, one of his secretary, and he is going to become the one who is. People are guessing what he's going to be. He might be the vice premier, and he's the youngest among all. All right, so he's just 60. So after 5 years, he's 65. So it's still he doesn't have to be kicked out because of the age limit. So he can switch the roles with Xi Jinping, and he is the loyalist among the loyalists who can actually execute Xi Jinping's will and political plans. And I guess, this is a bold guess that if Xi Jinping wants to use this Putin-Medvedev model in what they do in Russia, Ding Xuexiang will be the one that he will be trusting the most. So he and Ding Xuexiang can switch roles. All right, Ding Xuexiang can help him, and maybe he can be either the premier or the party secretary. But that's still it's a long call. All right, and what Xi Jinping has created for himself is that, in the first place, by putting all his people in the Politburo Standing Committee, he wants to ensure the political security that he has been, viewed as the first priority in his political career. But by doing so, actually, he creates a dilemma for the political security among his people, because, there's a long tradition of collective rule among the party, within the CCP. There's one major benefit of doing that. We share the power, but we share the responsibility as well. So if something goes wrong, it's our responsibility, not yours. But now Xi Jinping just put these views away, and everything just goes to him. Everything that he has done wrong will be his fault. Okay? So now the other factions or the remnants of other factions are looking for this as the opportunity to attack him. All right, so COVID is one thing, Taiwan may be another, or other diplomatic. Everything in the diplomatic front can be used, or economic front can be used by the enemies or the rivals within the party, the remnants, as a momentum to mobilize politically. So this is something that we have to look at. So political security is something that Xi Jinping put as first priority. So if now he is facing, now the situation is new and he might create more potential enemies standing on the opposite side of him. So what he is going to do, if we are following the logic of international politics, well, one easy way for him to divert this kind of political pressure from inside is to turn it from to the outside. So diversionary conflict or war is something that he might be used. And if you remember, Xi Jinping has been very bold when it comes to challenging the U.S. Standing role in the world. He has talked about that before when he was the vice chairman of the People's Republic of China. Like I remember it was like the year around 2012. He said there are a lot of foreigners who don't know what to do. They'd like to instruct us to do this and that. I don't know why they are doing that. They should care about their own business. So, well, of course, Xi Jinping is, well, a lot of people like to say that he is close to the U.S. because he has some U.S. experience by staying in Iowa for a long time, right? But still, I think he will be the one who is dare to struggle against the U.S. So what we can see from the following 5 years is that I think first we will see more and more the tension between U.S. and China when the PRC and the CCP under Xi Jinping try to test and pose challenge to the U.S. on multiple fronts. We will see that Beijing had trying to approach the diplomatic allies of the U.S. in different regions, including the ones in their backyard. Nicaragua is some country that we have seen to openly reject the U.S. offers, right, and try to turn to Beijing's BRI. And secondly, we will see the rise and the strengthening of the authoritarian international order. This is a new term being used by especially some Western scholars to replace the so-called liberal international order the U.S. has established after World War II. And the third thing is about the future of a Belt and Road Initiative. A lot of people are guessing about the fate of the BRI. Well, some have pessimistic views, from the Chinese perspective, that because of they are trying to focus more on themselves, so we will see a shrinkage of BRI. But I think we will see an expansion of BRI because when China is competing with the U.S., this is the best place that they can set up a new example and open up a new front. China needs new market. China needs more internationalized tests or the experiments to different countries about their strategies, right? And China need to get more diplomatic allies, or at least those potential supporters, other than countries like Pakistan, countries like Zimbabwe, and all these small but very authoritarian countries that have no friends, just like China. They are trying to get more from South Asia and Southeast Asia. So we will see an expansion of BRI. And the final two examples I would like to share is that the first one is regarding Taiwan. The second one is regarding India. For Taiwan, a lot of people are speculating about war. Even when I went back to Taiwan in early October to participate in one of the most important geopolitical forum in Taiwan, I was approached by a core scholar / policymaker. He said that, now he thinks it's time for Taiwan to prepare for 50 lux. It should be, yeah, lux, no, 500 lux of bulletproof vest for the Taiwanese nationals. Everyone should have two bulletproof vests in case that war will be taking place in the coming few years. And a lot of scholars in Taiwan all speculate that the most likely timing for Taiwan to see a war is from the year of 2024 to 2027, is the 100-year anniversary of the PLA. In 2024, two things will be happening. One is the new Taiwanese presidential election. If the pro-Taiwan Independence Party wins, that we will see more tension, and also the U.S. we will see a power transformation in the U.S. So this actually add a lot of uncertainties for Taiwan. But for me, I would say that for the future, war is a rare event, but we will see more tensions. Xi Jinping and POA will be more willing to use war to serve the role to force Taiwan to accept the idea of reunification. That being said, we may not see the real war or the large scale, embarking military operations that POA will actually occupy Taiwan. But we will see that they try to use some scary military operations, for example, by occupying some of the islands under control of the Republic of China, which is Taiwan's official name, and use that to force Taiwan to accept reunification. This is something that we will see. And traditionally, PRC, CCP has been adopting the United Front tactics towards Taiwan. It's like a two-hand strategy. So on one way, they are trying to provide some benefit for the Taiwanese nationals, the Taiwanese companies, the collaborators in Taiwan, those who benefit from doing business with Taiwan. They are trying to provide some benefit to these people, and ask these people to tell your government unification actually is good for you. And on the other hand, they will be using military forces to force the Taiwanese people. So it's like if you don't accept the carrots, you will have the stick. Previously, they love to offer more carrots, but I think for the following years to come, we will see more sticks because now they are equipped with new weapons, the gray tactics, with the help of internet and all the other social media portals that they can infiltrate into the Taiwanese society in an easier way. So that's a thing that I will say. And the last thing is about India. I think it's more likely that we will see events like what we see 2 years before in Galvan Valley, because India is the weakest link in the Indo-Pacific strategy. So there have been great incentives for the POA and the CCP and the PRC to challenge the weakest link, which is India. If you follow the news before, when we have Malabar exercise near Japan, the POA and the POA Navy's ships, they don't follow the U.S. Navy. They don't follow the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force. They follow the Indian Navy ship right after. So they are trying to create they are trying to drive a wedge between India and the rest of the Indo-Pacific semi or pseudo allies. So I think this is something that we have to pay attention, because China will be testing India's resolution to stay in the Indo-Pacific strategy or the Quad. All right. So Jaishankarji has been talking about that we should occupy more mind space of China, but we need a strategy. How to? Well, the Chinese are we are actually I think what I've been observing in the Indian politics is that we are so used to democracy. We are so used to parliamentarian democracy. So we are very good at making friends or building up different coalitions in the multilateral institutions, right? And this is what we like to do. But for Chinese, they don't care about this. They only believe in power. So what we see from the PLA regarding what they do for along the LAC or the line of actual control is that they just build up everything, get everything ready. They just build different, they just renovate their airfields. They just build more barracks, which has some heating devices that can help them to resist the long winter along the LAC. They got everything ready and say, well, now it's time for you to talk. All right, now we should talk. But they are creating, Mao Zedong like to say to 造势. 造势 means to create a favorable situation for us, for the Chinese. So they are creating the whole situation, favorable situations, and now they turn to Indian and say, now let's talk. We have to see this. We have to see this. I think that's very important. And Xi Jinping will be doing that in the following 5 years. And this is some 2 cents that I would like to share. Thank you very much.